Senator Elizabeth Warren continues to fight for the little guy. She is proposing legislation that would allow students to refinance their student loan debt, which is a really big deal. Now, currently, under current regulation, a lot of the student loan debt that students have taken out cannot be refinanced. And according to the proposal, and according to Senator Warren, when interest rates drop, people can refinance their home, they can refinance their business debt. It's regarded as a smart move for any consumer or business, but student borrowers are prohibited from doing that under most programs. This bill says we're going to change that and let them refinance that down to current low rates. And that's a really big deal, especially when you consider the fact that, first of all, students can't get rid of student loan debt if they file for bankruptcy. And on top of that, student loan debt has already surpassed credit card debt. More than $1 trillion in student loan debt exists, and it's actually having a really negative impact on our economy because it stops young people from going out there, buying homes, buying cars, and doing what's necessary to start their lives.
Her point in this case is nearly indisputable. Of course, it will be disputed and it will probably lose.
It will lose, which is sad.
Right, because that's the powerful in this country run our politics. You know the whole story, right? So they're not going to be in favor of this. They don't want to reduce debt on students. They want to increase debt on students because they make money off of that. So, but if you break down her logic, like if I got a house, and everybody knows this, if you got a house, you got a mortgage, right? If the rates are different, then you could renegotiate and get a lower rate. Why shouldn't they be allowed to do that for student debt? If I got a debt on the house, I could do it. Why can't you do it on student debt? That's crazy. And then you have this extra thing of like, you can't get rid of student debt, right? So, you know, Donald Trump has filed for bankruptcy many times for his companies. And whenever they ask him about it, he goes, what are you talking about? That's a savvy business move. Like I had a lot of debt, and then I filed for bankruptcy, and then I didn't have it. Ha ha, joke's on you. And the guy who gave me that debt knew that he was taking on a certain amount of risk, and that risk exploded on him. Now I have less debt. And he is very insistent that he's a very smart businessman for doing that. Now, if students try to do that, deadbeat, immoral, how dare you? And we won't even let you. We won't let you get out of it through bankruptcy, and you can't even lower it, even if the interest rates are lower for all other kinds of debt at this point.
Yeah, so Senator Warren hit the nail on the head when she made the argument that when we're giving students student loans, we should see it as an investment in the future, not a money-making opportunity for the federal government. But now it's become a money-making opportunity. So if you look at student loan debt from 2007 to 2012, the government is set to make $66 billion in revenue or profit off of those student loans in interest, right? So, you know, Senator Warren will say, look, some people are actually upset about the fact that we'll lose that money if we allow these students to refinance. So what can we do? What can we fill that federal budget gap? And what she is suggesting, which is even better, is that we should enact the Buffett rule, which is increase taxes on the top earners in the country, those who are making $1 million or more. Get rid of tax loopholes, make sure that the wealthiest people in the country are paying their fair share.
So, look, if you're already making over $1 million, that's pretty good. Now, that doesn't mean we should take, you know, a disproportionate amount. There's a limit, right? But we're nowhere near that limit. We have incredibly low tax rates compared to the rest of the developed world, right? So can we raise it by a little bit for the specific purpose of providing opportunity for the next generation so that they can become millionaires, and by the way, also contribute in taxes, and hence, in some ways that would be, you know what, trickling down, right? And then that would create an opportunity to bring in more revenue down the road. Plus, it helps Americans live the American dream, etc. But there's no way in today's society we're going to do that because our government is run by those same millionaires. They're the top donors to our politicians. They own our politicians. In fact, Princeton did a research study recently that showed that the public opinion did not matter for about 1,800 issues that they studied over a period of about 40 years in this country. No effect on the politicians. But what they call the financial elite that give political donations, their opinion mattered completely. It was totally correlated to what the policy outcomes were. So the people who she's proposing to raise taxes on, it doesn't matter how logical or fair her proposals are, they're not going to allow it.
And you know, I just want to make a really quick point about how principled Senator Warren is, because she's a smart woman. She knows that this isn't going to pass, right? But she's proposing it anyway to make her stance known. And that means that she's not willing to allow corporations to have the same power over her that other politicians do. And I love that. I absolutely love that. She's giving corporations the middle finger. And that's a really, really brave thing to do in this political climate.
Right. You might think, why is that so brave? That sounds like it's incredibly popular. It is incredibly popular. Because then your donations dry up.
Yep.
Why do you think all those other senators don't do it? Because they couldn't think of it? No, because they're scared to death that they're going to lose their donations and lose their next election, because that's how you win elections. 95% of the time, the person with more money wins the election. So that's why this is brave. That's why we like Elizabeth Warren. And that's why the establishment can't stand her.
Oh, God, I really want her to run for president.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
And so sometimes people ask me, hey, if Wolfpack wins, what happens next? So if we get money out of politics, we get the amendment to do that. Well, this is what happens next. Do you have any idea how easy that would be to pass if all politicians were not controlled by their donors? If you took it to the American people and the representatives actually represented people, that would pass in overwhelmingly. You would be shocked at how easy it would be to pass. You think that's like, oh, that's utopia, that's not going to happen. It did happen. It happened for 40 to 50 years in this country, where we had domestic politics that actually represented the American people. That's how Ralph Nader got Richard Nixon to pass laws requiring seatbelts, OSHA to protect workers at their jobs so they don't get injured or hurt or killed, and even Nixon passed the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. That's how strong progressives were, because they represented the people. Mm-hmm. That was pre-Supreme Court rulings that flooded politics with money. Wolf-pack.com. And then champions of the people like Elizabeth Warren can get real power and bring you real change.